And I know because my team is 100% virtual. Of course, we meet in person lots of times, but basically we're 100% virtual. So next question is kind of like a personal question, but I know there are lots of entrepreneurs listening to this podcast. And if somebody has a company or is just starting a company and they're thinking about creating a new virtual team, a new virtual power team, what are the risks they should be aware of? What are the big benefits they should think of? And what are the 2 or 3 big advices you could give these people to build a successful virtual team from scratch?
Yes. I'll start with the benefits and then mention the risks. I think the benefits are really, and this drives the growing virtual, you can work with the best experts in the world. You don't have to be constrained by your city or your country. As long as you have, English is the most common language to communicate, you have access to a really huge pool of experts, provided you can unite them in a team. You could build a strong gravity. But this is the first benefit. It gives you, access to a lot of experts. Second one is for the team members themselves, because some of the really good experts, they don't want to leave their location, their lifestyle. They love where they are normally. They like travel every now and then, but they would like to stay where they are. So this gives them also an opportunity to work on exciting projects without leaving their location for a longer period of time. And the third one is for the big and small really companies equally. You could easily scale up. You have the organizational flexibility. You could hire people and you integrate them in your projects without having to, depending on the size, have a legal entity and so on. You could start quick, and if it works, then grow organically, sometimes exponentially at the same time. So it is a very flexible way, and particularly for small businesses, like usually the speaker business, it could be good in volume, but you don't need many people. You need the typical web experts and maybe PR and so on. So it is a very natural way to have a successful business running a virtual team. Risks are, I think, not having your team members lost in space, demotivated, not understood. That's the typical complaint of a poorly led virtual teams. And here comes, and then it really would impact your bottom line. There is a significant difference if you have a strong team working for you and not a team, but group of people doing some job because, they have the expertise, but really not feeling I can trust and support, and we have a common vision and common agenda. And here comes the 10 big rocks. I wouldn't go through all 10 as an advice. I'll pick top 3. Top 3, first one is personality in focus. Many managers and entrepreneurs neglect the personality factor. They say, I don't see the people, I never see them, I recruited them online, they do a good job, why should I bother, what are they as individual? I think you lose a lot of potential. And hence, the very first book, personality in focus, but not just you and all of your employees, or, in this case, freelancers working for you, because it's good. It's still very good than nothing, not to mention personal. It should be all members of the team present and everybody hears. That has a much bigger effect. It multiplies and stacks up. And everybody sees the other one, and this is how you see the interpersonal relationship the first time, when they present their lifelines. The lifeline is simple enough tool to go and to see what they've mastered so far in their life, but also what they have achieved, the struggles that they had and they managed to overcome. And often, these hybrid teams, when you have a co-located core and then satellite members, this is very, very common setup in the startup, but also consultancy which grow. They have their major location and then they have the new satellites. Sometimes we do this workshop, we do the lifeline, start with it, and they learn from each other. Even the co-located members that worked 15 years at the same place, they learn in 5 minutes more for their team members, particularly about the low lights, the struggles, more than in the last 15 years. So it is really powerful. Do it that everybody on the team hears about it. So first was, don't neglect the personality, but put a special attention, personality in focus. Second is when you start communicating and doing the online conferences, not usually, that's too strong statement, but often the manager calls a meeting if there is a problem and they start resolving it. Sometimes there is a finger pointing, they try to see the root cause, sometimes who is to blame in the worst scenario, or or the manager dominates the meeting. He has the agenda, he leads it, and 90% of the time he's talking, and maybe people would ask some questions. I think this disbalance is also one of the mistakes, where if it's a problem-centric or a manager-centric calls, you need the formats, and I call it, there is the 10 big rocks are in the three main parts. First is like the head, if you imagine as a human body, the head, which is about clarity, and we have here personality in focus, who is the member of the team, and then is the strengths matrix. We discover the natural strengths and talents of the people through peer coaching, very effective without paying some extra licenses and so on, but we put it in a strength matrix that everybody has a visibility of the strengths of the other team members. And then interdependent goal, we set this goal in a purpose in a bottom-up exercise. Again, it would be suboptimal if the manager, regardless how strong vision he has, regardless how talented speaker he is, if he puts his vision on the team. It should be a bottom-up exercise, particularly in virtual teams, because then they go on their location. If they don't identify with the vision, if they don't identify with the goal, they did not contribute it actively to it, they lose motivation.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, the structured communication, which I would have mentioned all 10, this is the second part. If the first was the head, the second is like the muscles and skeleton. It gives you structure. They shouldn't be around the manager and the problem. They should be a regular forums when everyone having a slot and can express himself. And here I combine also personal and professional. Everybody on the weekly call or whatever the frequency they decide, but should be rather often than rare. It starts with a 2-minute personal update. And this is a bit like a spice. Because phone conferences, normally if I ask the question, how many of you taken part of phone conference? Everybody says, maybe 90%. Some are kind of too lazy. And I said, who have bored on a phone conference? Then 100%. Yes. So it could be easily boring, particularly if the 90% of the time the boss is talking. Everyone should have a slot. Start with a quick personal update. It's like a spice. So, and there is a whole structure about team charter, channel for urgent communication. I wouldn't go in these details, but it should be more democratic and not just problem-centric. And the third one is, some manager expect extraordinary performance with or with a like average rewards. I think I'm a big fan of set a bold price, bold reward for outstanding performance. If you know what is your key indicator, what you are after, which you come when you do a goal as a setup in the workshop format, this is our goal. And if you achieve it much faster, or if you overachieve by 20%, not just by like 3-4%, we can do something extraordinary. And I have one case as a manager. I was leading a project, and we set 6 months down the road. It was a 2-year project. I went to the project board and asked if we deliver these quite complex projects 3 months earlier, I suggest that all 30 people involved in the project go for 2 days to Tenerife, Canary Islands.
Oh, cool. Love it.
Yes. And they agreed because the people cost was €1 million. And if we deliver 3 months earlier, we release for the company 250,000. And with the 50 of them, we all go to Tenerife and have the party of our life. So everybody wins. I mean, we would stretch, we would go extra mile, but then if we succeed, they save 200 for the organization, and we have our party. And really, we did miracles. There was one is to set an extraordinary price. The other is to have a visual reporting, because you don't see each other in a virtual team. You need to have strong visuals that people at every point in time can see where you are. So instead of the traffic light reports typical in the project management and some tables and milestones, we had an island because of the Tenerife with a palm tree, and then 20 parachuters for each of the countries that we need to transfer. By the way, we had to do this for IT shared services, transfer 20 countries from local IT management to the global shared services. And you have this visual, people get even more excited, and we really, in the end, everybody went extra mile. So the third advice is set an appealing price for outstanding performance and have a visual reporting, and you will be amazed by the results.
Cool. So even if we're talking about virtual teams, which sounds kind of like not that much personal, it's even more personal than being on a team where you're sitting in the same office. Am I right? Yes, absolutely. If you do it right, it could be even more personal. Yes. Yeah. And but of course, even if it's about personalities and appreciating the values of the people and their purpose, and having them sign into your vision. Of course, you need technology as well to make the process of communicating as easy as possible. Do you have any recommendations for certain softwares or apps or gadgets you like to use when setting up a power team?
Yes. Honestly speaking, now almost all my clients, they have their preferred technology. They invested, and I can mention a few that work well. So I would stick to their technology. For example, multinationals, many of them use WebEx, which is Cisco product. They use it for conferences. It is key. I think I will mention a few names and brands, but it's key the criteria. And now almost everybody has it. So you need to have a very good video conferencing, very stable. And Cisco has it. Skype for Business is very popular, also is good in terms of stable video conferencing for a big group of people. The other one, Virtual Power Team, is a lot of interaction and like breakout groups and so on. So you need to have a good shared whiteboard facility. People can work on the shared whiteboard as well as they sit or stand next to the flip chart. But all supported. Cisco has it, Adobe Connect has it excellently. Skype for Business, you need to work around it. So we use Google Drive. Google have a strong product. It's not like top edge, but it is solid and good. So we would have Skype for Business for the video, for the chat, for the presentation, and then we will work on a Google Drive document as a shared whiteboard to do some breakout groups and then present the results back. So I think there are quite a few technologies nowadays which are good. I've mentioned Cisco WebEx, I've mentioned Skype for Business, and then the Google Business Suite, which is also for my team. I have Google for Business, quite cheap product, but gives you everything to collaborate on a common documents, and so on. And then for communication, again, they have it in their suite. For example, Skype for Business, they have their Teams, it's called. So it's like SharePoint-based solution. It is key to have for the team. People should be able, that's one of my big rocks, knowledge management, to share. So this extra gravity, you get it by sharing, discussing, commenting, liking. So it could be like a closed Facebook group, nothing bad about it. Maybe some privacy concern, but in terms of functionality is excellent. Or Skype for Business, which is a Microsoft product, they have the teams, so you share. And I link it to the strengths. You have knowledge champions with particular strength about this area, so they will be the custodian. You don't just let it, you have people with passion for the topic that will be the knowledge champions in this, but you need a way for people to share documents, comment, like, and have a lively discussion on the expertise areas which are relevant for the team. And then you need something for a day-to-day, like a strong chat. And I see more company going on Slack. Slack, because it's multi-project, multi-channel. You could really, for companies which work with multiple clients and multiple projects, Slack gives you this structure not to mess it up. So if you, for example, have Skype for Business, you could use their chat and their teams and everything. Adobe Connect have all this in their pack, and then Cisco WebEx. But if you are a very diverse business, sometimes Slack comes for your daily-to-daily messaging. And you need also something that will be the last aspect I comment. You need something for like delegating tasks and project management. And I know Microsoft has. In this case, Trello is a good product, which is like a standalone. And it's like Kanban and Scrum compliant. You could have your categories, define it there, and you visually drag and drop the task from one category, like work in progress, into done. So it's good for virtual to have a strong visual tool with a simple kind of design, and you could drill down if you want to, and you can drag and drop. And Slack and Trello has this. Slack is more for communication, chatting. Trello is more like tasks and project management and delegation. And these are the areas, actually. You need, somewhere to communicate, share knowledge. You need a strong video conferencing. You need a collaboration tool with the shared whiteboards. And then you need something for the tasks, not to lose track of, who is doing what and what is done.
Well, very, very valuable advice, Peter. Thank you for that. And I'm glad that you said that, because we use Trello and Slack as well. And I'm really happy with that because of the reasons you just mentioned. A very, very cool tool. And of course, there are thousands of other tools out there as well. And in the end, you have to find your own solution to your specific needs of your team and your company and your industry you're working in. But of course, technology has made life so much easier to build such a team. And what I like, what you said some minutes before, you have access to the brightest minds all over the world. You can choose whatever expert you're looking for. It doesn't have to be someone living in your city or even in your own country. I've got people on my team living in Asia or in Australia, New Zealand, somewhere over there. And it works because we've been so connected over the last few years. And this is what I love about having a virtual team. And speaking of time zones, that can be another story, because when you choose the right people, you basically have people working for you 24/7, and they are working for you when you're sleeping, which is really what I like about that. Speaking of which, as we are talking right now, and we're basically kind of doing such a chat over Zoom right now, and Zoom is a tool which I prefer to Skype, by the way, which at least for small teams, I think the connection is better than Skype. But you're sitting in London right now. Yep. And I know you've been to a Tony Robbins event over the last few days. And what interests me, did you do the firewalk?
Yes.
And how was that experience? Tell me about that.
It was great. It was great, really. We were 13,000 people, 3,000 people in one room. So essentially the London Exhibition Centre, XL they call it, half of it was blocked for Tony Robbins. Huge space, 13,000 people. And the firewalk is just a metaphor about facing your fears. You as a change coach, you have to face your fears and step up and do the first step. And doing the first step is key. For sure, you need to sustain it. But all this, there was a lot of preparation. Very physical, because these are also NLP experts. So you anchor everything through your body. You have a move. So he was saying probably 100%, make a move, make your move. And everybody decide for himself, what is the empowering move that puts you in a state of absolute certainty. So you would just go for it. So there was body anchors with make a move. A lot of shouting in a positive way. It might sound strange, but if you give a sound to your state of a personal certainty, and then you pick how it sounds, what you say, and so on, this gives you another level of confidence. So probably we were 2.5 hours, 13,000 people were rehearsing their move, followed or not followed, led by Tony. A lot of energy, and like every now and then breaks with beautiful music, very energizing music, and jumping and so on. So you really get to the state of absolute certainty that no fear, you go through everything. And this is something that you could retain and use in other situations. Manage your state, go in a state of he calls it beautiful state, which you are resourceful, empowered, and you're ready to go. And once you're ready, then you can imagine the logistics. 13,000 people have to go out and they prepared all these fires and somehow go through. It was like 5-6 meters coals that you have to walk on. And there was also a lot of instructions and how to go
normal.
You say things like mantra, cool moss, which is, and you look up again, not down, because down you could visualize how you celebrate. So they really had a very rounded way from your motivation to step up, then to really go through it, a very clear instructions, and in the end, celebrate what you did. And it was amazing. I mean, before you go, you still wonder, but when you make your move, which you rehearsed 100 times, you really get into the state and just go for it, looking up and so on. So I was contemplating doing this for many years and didn't find the time. Now that I did it, stays with me. I mean, the ability to go into this state of absolute certainty with a move and all the anchors that, you know, every one of us work for himself or herself. So it was an amazing experience. And the energy of all this huge group, you feel like, you know, I like movies like, for example, Mel Gibson movie, what was it, with a Scottish,
Braveheart, yeah.
Yes. So I had this moment many times when 13,000 people shout a sound of absolute certainty and victory. It's amazing to hear. It's amazing if you look around to see all the arms. So here I felt like part of a big army which is going to have a very, very human and positive victory, not to kill somebody, but, you know, to face your fears and go and break through your fears. It was amazing.
Cool. And yeah, and it's all about that focused energy, focused mindset, and focusing of what you want to achieve. And speaking of achievements, I told my audience in the introduction that you've been a senior champion in javelin and discus in Bulgaria. Tell me a little bit about that. How did you come loving that sports, and what do you love most about it?
Yes, I have a good news for the audience. I'm not sure, but last year I became a world champion in discus in New Zealand, in Auckland.
Wow.
So that's my highest. When I put the website, I need to update my website. I was the Bulgarian. It took me for sure. I started throwing javelin when I was 15, and it was coincidence, and I know there are no coincidences. Everything is somehow with purpose. But we were doing one of these brigades in the communist times that I lived. Yeah. We were supposed to go as students and harvest some whatever fruits or vegetables. In this case, we were gathering potatoes, actually. Yeah. So we were going back in a group, the whole class, probably 3 classes, 100 people walking in the fields. And then a guy saw me from the distance and asked me to come and say, come along. And I went there. I just started to do some physical exercise. So I probably did like 6 months, a little bit at home, push-ups and that sort of thing. But already was visible, age 15, you know, just growing. And he said, would you like to throw javelin? And I said, yes, because I watch all these Indian movies, and for me it was very romantic, you know, the whole thing about javelin with all the explosive thing and Indians. So immediately resonated in many kind of parts of me. And then I started with the javelin. Age 15, I did it like 3 years. I did mathematics. That was my probably first love. And javelin, it was not very successful. I was probably 15 in Bulgaria by that time. Then I stopped. Then as a student, again, that was the social factor, because there were a lot of training camps in the beautiful places free of charge. You have a winter camp behind the mountains. You have a summer camp. You have like a spa. So I went there, but not so much. For sure, I'm always ambitious, but I didn't put so much effort. It was more the social aspects of the student years. And then big break, and at the age of 42, I said, okay, let's do it again. No, I started actually 39, the javelin. 42 was the speaker bit. And I started with a lot of, it's probably midlife crisis as well, because you see you're starting to age a bit, but now is the time to prove. No.
We're still young.
Yes. So I started, it took me 10 years, 3 years to become a Bulgarian champion, you know, growing up. And then I became a Balkan champion. That's 8 countries in Central, Southeast Europe. And then last year was the peak, the world champion in discus throw, and I get a bronze medal in javelin. So it turned out that discus I'm better. For javelin, you need to have a very fast but thin arms, because you have this whip effect. The thin arm could whip faster. And javelin is just 100 grams. It's the lightest of these implements. And this is 2 kilo. It's much massive. You need a stronger arms, and arms are my strongest muscle group. So somehow it's linked to the strengths. Passion. Javelin was my first passion, but it turned out that my biggest strength is in discus. And for sure, it takes a lot of focus, as you said. You cannot do it on your own, or you would need forever. So I had a very good coach, Russian coach. He was a Soviet Union champion. and he gave me a lot of insights, and he was swearing at me and throwing things at me. So he's very passionate if I don't do the technique right, but it takes this passion to help you grow. And I think, and I do a lot of mental stuff. I visualize the results much better. It's related to belief system. You need to be confident and convinced that you're going to make it. You know, the level of confidence and belief is also key. So I think probably 60% is very hard training and a good coach to help your technique, because in the end, it's not the strength that decide. Technique is more important by throwing. It's much more complex than running or jumping, because you have to, in a second, put in the right sequence all the muscle group and make the optimal move. And probably 40% is mental things like visualization, belief, affirmations, and all this stuff. I did emotional freedom technique. You anchor it in all possible way, the optimal technique, in order to speed up the process. But it was worth it. It was a great experience in the end.
Cool. And it's a great metaphor, actually, because sometimes you need to start with something you're passionate about, and then you keep going, and on the way you learn there's something else I might even be better in, and that I have another passion for, but you'll never know that if you're staying at home, sitting on your couch, and don't go out there. So whatever it is you have a passion for in life, just go out there and do it, become better, and then learn on the way, and crazy things might happen, like in your case. And really love that story. And I have to take a look at the clock, because we could talk for hours, because you're such an impressive guy, Peter, but we're running out of time by now, so I have to switch over to the end. And if my audience is thinking, now, wow, this is kind of impressive, and that topic of virtual power teams, that's really interesting for my company or for my organization or whatever, and they want to dive deeper into that topic, how can they reach you? Maybe you want to show your book in the camera, because you've written a great book on that topic. And what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Thank you for asking that. I really appreciate it. So the best way is really, you could look at my website, which is peter-ivanov.com. Ivanov is with V spelled. And if you want to, and if you go on the website, you'll reach my YouTube channel. There is free videos with advice and so on. I'm on all social media, Facebook and so on. And every now and then I post blogs and advice and hopefully good content. But if you want to have a more private experience with me, this is the Virtual Power Teams book. It is called Virtual Power Teams: How to Deliver Projects Faster, Reduce Cost, and Develop Your Organization for the Future. So all these 10 big rocks that I mentioned are described here, but the book reached, for my delight, Amazon top 3 in Germany in the category International Management. And the UK, it was top 8, and top 4 was Richard Branson with his book. So I was really, I keep this snapshot, probably put it on the wall one day. But the point is, I guess for the good ranking and the good feedback from the Amazon reader, it's a story. It's not the typical management book. It is like a business novel. So there's a story about a German entrepreneur who, after an earthquake in the Himalaya, he sees his chance for international breakthrough. He wants to build a resilient houses which will not be demolished after the next earthquake. And he starts to mobilize a team of global experts. And he starts to struggle, doing the same way he does, with being used to control everything and so on. And the book is quite ups and downs. In the end, it is a happy end, but they learned a lot on the go. And you have each chapter, you have the story which develops about Bernd and his global team. And then you have half of the chapter is the method, which is I kind of take from the story and analyze and describe the method and give a lot of tips and reflection exercises and what are the dangers for your tip and so on.
Cool. Highly recommended book. Very excellent. Thank you so much for showing us that, Peter. And yes, we've reached the end of our little interview. One or two quick last questions, something completely different, but this is a question I ask all my guests on this podcast. What is your personal definition of success?
maybe influenced a bit by Tony Robbins. Last 4 days was a strong influence. But I think it's two things, as he said, and I was living it.
Yeah.
First is achievement. So I'm a performance-driven guy, and that's what drove me to, world champion in discus and Amazon top 3 book. So you need to achieve things. You have to have a clear goal, what you want to achieve. Be bold, as we said several times. Be bold, set a high goal, and then on the way you will meet people. You'll be surprised. If you give, you will get back, and so on. And you may not achieve, your very bold goal, but you will be much, much farther than if you set an average, moderate goal. So this is about achievement. It's part of being happy. And second, as Tony said, fulfillment, because I did it several times. If you're too focused and you don't allow time, for your loved ones and friends, you could easily burn out and you will not be happy, even if you achieve magnificent things. Yeah. So it is about on the way, give love to your family, to your friends, and as broader as you can, help other people. Because by giving, this is probably the best way, the shortcut to happiness. It's not when you achieve the magnificent things, but helping others. And make sure you're in balance. You have a great achievement, but on the way you give and you feel fulfilled. You give love, you give support, and so on.
Wow, I agree 100% with that. Cool. Yeah. We talked a lot about achievement, and you achieved a lot over the past 4 years. So last question, what are your plans for the future? Do you have a big vision that drives you? Do you have some specific goals you could share with us? What are your plans for the next, 1, 2, 4 years?
I think for sure I'd like to reach more people, speak to bigger audiences, thousands, if possible. But one thing which I'm not yet there where I'd like to be, and it's like a short focus, is a stronger online presence. Not in terms of marketing, but have a course, make these virtual power teams available online. It will be a hybrid. I was contemplating how can I put all the results that I achieve in my live seminars online, and I realized that's an impossible target. I need to have online course describing all the theory, all the case studies, some of the exercises for self-learning. Probably 60% will be online for consumption, self-learning. You can do it wherever you like. But then there will be element of group work. So there will be whoever decides to go on this journey, there will be elements which we will work as a group and we will learn from each other. So, making this online virtual power teams as a good, solid online product is my priority in the next 1-2 years. The sooner, the better. I have it now, but you can get the theory only, but the big benefits comes from the interaction. And the second thing is, in terms of, again, fulfillment, is my family, which is first or second. They are not in order. But 4 years I was giving a lot of pressure on the accelerate pedal. So now I'll take more time. I'm used to that. Every now and then take sabbatical. It won't be a sabbatical now, but I will allocate. There will be months with a lot of focus on my family, because I travel as well a lot. And if I continue, the kids grow, and before I realize they'll be out of home, and it'll be too late.
Absolutely true. And maybe we're talking about daughter number 6.
Yeah, not on the list, but you never know.
But never know. As always in life, you never know.
Yes, maybe on this daughter thing, probably won't be a daughter, but once I was speaking in Dresden, and it was a very technical audience. It was T-Systems, actually. And one of the guys, at some point in time, I mentioned that now I'm dealing with virtual power teams, but once my kids start leaving home, and we become a virtual family, as most of the families at some point in time, my main goal would be to crack the code of the virtual power family. And the guy came very enthusiastic and said, that could be a wonderful book. I'm a web designer, but I'm also a family therapist. So he got a very broad skill set. And I think that's probably would be my next book project, Virtual Power Family.
Cool,
which is
love that, yeah. Because let's face it, every family is also a team, and good teams sometimes more a family like most families out there, if you manage it right. Really, really cool idea. So yeah, Peter, thank you so much for being my guest today. It was a great pleasure. It was an honor to having you. So is there one last sentence, anything you want to share with my audience, anything I didn't ask you that you thought I would ask? So last line is up to you.
I think I'll just mention, because it was really an honor to be with you and a great pleasure. The first book title, Virtual Power Teams, my original idea of the title was Everyone is a Star. So, and really, that's what I would like to share to all your audiences. Treat your team members and family members as a star. If you invest time to find out what are their passions, what they have mastered, sometimes even they don't know their strengths. But with the structure, you will see that every one of us brings unique talents. He could be a indispensable and irreplaceable team member, a real asset. So if you treat everyone as a star in your team and even, broader, you would be amazed. People are, incredible, very dynamic beings. And if you approach them positively, you allow time and with love and support, you will see that there is a star in every one of us. And that could go to the exceptional team in business results, that can give you love at home. So yes, believe that everyone is a star, and you will be amazed by the fruits to come.
What a great message to end this interview with. So thank you, Peter, and thank you everyone for tuning in today. And I'm saying basically thank you for your time. Thank you for listening to us today. And please make sure to tune in next time when it's called Welcome to the Change Show. And for today, I'm saying bye-bye for now, and we talk to you next week. See you, everyone.
Been an honor.